The one and only David Livingston, Executive Director, Mississippi Loggers Association. David, good morning, sir. How are you?
Doing well.
Oh, it's good to see you. And how many members do you have in the Loggers Association?
Right now, currently, we're right around the 1,000 mark.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Logging, people don't understand, forestry in the state of Mississippi is a big deal.
Yes. We're part of the number 2 industry in the state and kind of the backbone.
It's number 2. Huh?
Yes. We may have dropped a little bit last year. I hadn't seen the numbers yet, but I know up until then we were the number 2 industry in the state, and the loggers are pretty much the middleman in all that process and the backbone of it.
I think we're all, if you watch reality shows, there were some great logging shows on there. I haven't seen them lately. They haven't renewed them for a while, but they were on a long time. But these guys are something else. I mean, if it's almost like deadliest catch. If you want a job that's gonna tax you, that's gonna be it.
Oh, no doubt. And here in our state, we're not as hands-on anymore. We're pretty much all mechanical, but there are parts of the country where it's a challenge to go to work and come home alive every day, or at least with all your limbs.
I've often said when I see some of these shows that show the new equipment, some of these beasts that can take down a tree, the computer on the thing sizes it out, strips the limbs, and then puts it in the back of the truck. If they had those back in the old days, I don't know where we'd be.
Oh, it'd be amazing. Technology has come a long way.
It has come a long, and every single year there's something new.
Yes, there is.
Where do you guys go for, if they would go for equipment? Where's the exhibition shows?
Actually, one of the biggest in the country is coming up this September. It's the Mid-South Forestry Equipment Show, and it'll be held at Starkville at Mississippi State's
No kidding.
Forest. Yes,
that'll be good.
Yeah, it's a biannual event, and it's open to the public. And we're one of the only last shows that are still running live demonstrations where the equipment is actually running and working and going. And that's coming up September 17th and 18th. This year, right side of Starkville.
When that comes up, would you give us a heads up? And is it open to the public?
Yes, it is open to the public, and it's a great show.
Better still, and you just call the sales department and invite us to do a remote from there. That'd be good.
Okay.
Making a little sales pitch here, guys. The number of bills in the legislature in the last legislative session. I want to talk about lumber and everything, but I want to get this out of the way because there was some controversy on the weight limits and things such as that. Would you speak to that? Yes.
That was Senate Bill 2825 you're speaking of, and there was some controversy over the raising of the weight limit, and the good and the bad of that is that I'll start with the bad. The bad, when a new company comes to locate to Mississippi, that company is at a severe disadvantage on its cost as opposed to our surrounding states. And we were at least 4,000 pounds behind every other state. With the Emergency Road and Bridge Fund funding and helping getting the local roads, bridges back up to par and funding for that, again, is going to allow us to raise that weight limit to 88,000 pounds, which will get us more in line with our surrounding states and not penalize. A lot of our loggers cut Mississippi timber owners' timber and haul over into Alabama or over into Louisiana, and they're just at a severe disadvantage. The mills are at a disadvantage as far as being able to haul their residuals and their chips out of these sawmills to the final place that it'll be processed.
What's the maximum load down? Is it 80,000?
84,000 pounds with a harvest permit, yes.
When you talk about the harvest permit, here's what I don't understand. I can understand harvest permits in agriculture, as far as cotton and soybeans and things like that. But you guys harvest all year long, don't you?
Yes, we do, but we're still an agricultural commodity.
Yeah.
And the problems that we face, especially in the woods, is that even with the technology we have today with the electronic scales on the trucks and trailers, they're not always 100% accurate. And the weight limit going to that is a tolerance. It's not a weight limit, but it is a tolerance to allow us a little room for error because we can't be exact when we're loading those trees on the truck.
Is there any technology today? I think I heard this somewhere. But is there any technology today, David, that lets you kind of get an idea in the ballpark of how much weight you've got on it before you hit the scales?
Yes, I mean the trucks actually have electronic scales on them. Most.
So you know about where you are.
We know about where we're at, but with all that being said, they're not 100% accurate 100% of the time. There is some variance in them, just as in any other electronic scale.
So you guys were asking for an increase to match the surrounding states, and how much was that? 8,000 more, 5,000 more?
4,000 more pounds.
4,000
yes,
more.
We went from 84,000 pounds on our harvest permit, and we'll go to 88,000 pound tolerance on our harvest permit July 1st of 2023.
So that bill passed.
Yes, it did,
and it was signed by the governor.
That is correct.
So that will be the rule as far as going forward.
That is correct.
What does that do as far as bridges that you can continue to cross?
Well, with the aid of the Emergency Road and Bridge Fund, we've already gone through the first round, and there were several counties that all benefited from that and got major bridges replaced and repaired under that program. And within that legislation, there is funding mechanism for the ERBF to help get those counties bridges back up to par and replace those that are deficient and get them to where we can. And we try to go and what we try to spread to our membership is, and all the loggers across the state, is to, whenever you go into a county, to be sure to touch base with your supervisor in that county and just let them know where you're going to be at, and find out if those bridges are there, and find out which is the best route to go to get back to a state road.
Executive Director, Mississippi Loggers Association, David Livingston. Now, if you have a tract of land that you've been holding on forever, is it a good time to go on and make a deal on it, get a contract? Well,
that's kind of a tricky question, and it depends on the product that you have. If you have a pine plantation, which many landowners across the state have, that needs thinning, now may not be such a good time to thin.
Why is that, David?
Well, what we have, and especially in the southwest part of the state, I can speak for because that's where I'm from, the sawmills have ramped up their production to try to meet the demand for lumber. And what that has done is that has increased the amount of residual sawdust and chips. Well, those have to go somewhere. They have to do something to get rid of them. So your paper mills take those in lieu of roundwood from plantation thinnings and such as that to make the paper out of.
So you're not going to get the best price right now as far as pine, it's softwood.
On thinnings. On thinnings. Yes, on pine pulpwood. On logs and chipping saw, the market is...
Answer him, but I'm glad you're here. Is that 88,000 with a harvest permit? If so, what's the weight limit without one?
The weight limit without a harvest permit is 80,000 pounds. With a harvest permit, it will go to 88. It's not there yet. It'll change
July 1st
of 2023.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
It's not this coming July then.
No.
Why would they wait? Why did they wait that late?
Because of the funding for the ERBF to give these counties time to get those deficient bridges replaced. Yes.
Is let's see, how about chip haulers? Will that be the same for chip haulers?
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. They are on the list of eligible products for a harvest permit.
You and I were talking about this. Why? And we mentioned this earlier about thinning out. But when you thin things, that's going to be those small.
Right, your stands of pulpwood.
Yeah, it's not
plantations. Right.
Ask him why pine lumber prices are relatively static or low when the OSB prices are at an all-time high. And the OSB, as Josh Harkins was mentioning, is defined as...
the sheething that they use to put on tops of houses and around the houses to sturdy it up.
So
and lumber prices are up, too, It's just everything in the building sector has just skyrocketed since the COVID stretch, where there was a delay in processing to a point because people didn't know what they were going to be dealing with. And then when they come out of the backside of that, we don't have the mills that we used to have 15, 20 years ago, like we did in the mid-'90s to meet that demand. So although the mills that we have now are still a lot more efficient, it's still a challenge for them to keep up with the growing demand for building products.
Do you have enough land to harvest?
Yes, actually, in here in Mississippi right now, we're growing 2 times more wood than we are harvesting annually.
But that's my understanding is, doing some work with the forestry folks many years ago, that people don't understand this, but for every tree, they plant 2 trees in its place.
That is correct. That is correct. Landowners are good stewards of the land, and have done an outstanding job of taking care of a great renewable resource that we have here in the state.
So how is our infrastructure of process? We got sawmills, you got paper mills, and you got OSB mills,
and you have pellet mills,
and you got pellet mills.
Correct.
And that's a big deal now as far as the pellet mills is concerned.
Yes.
What kind of wood? They don't use softwood in there, or is
yes, they use a mixture. It's a mixture of softwood and hardwood, depending on the mill. I've heard splits like 60-40 or 70-30 pine to hardwood.
Is most of that going overseas, David? Or
yes. They're making pellets and shipping those.
What are they using it for overseas?
For energy, heating and energy, burning it.
They're not just
coal.
putting it in a barbecue pit. Then.
No.
Is that the same thing that they put in the barbecue pit?
Basically, except for the pellets for the barbecue pits are a specific wood, like if you want the cherry flavor, mesquite flavor, or what have you.
Tell me about the drivers. How are loggers handling this as far as driver availability?
It's been a difficult challenge for all loggers across the state, being able to keep and maintain qualified drivers. Of course, the regulations keep getting tougher and tougher and tougher on those drivers. And I think here, I don't remember the exact age, but the average age of a log truck driver is up in his 60s. I can't remember exactly what it is. And it's just not been a big push to try to push young people towards that as an occupation, although it's a very rewarding and you can make a really good living doing it.
Do they have to have their own truck? It's not like a KLLM or something where you're working for a company. These are individual drivers, or they're working for a logging company? We
have a combination. We have some independent contractors that have 1 to 2 or maybe 3 trucks that are in the log hauling business. But for the most part, most of the loggers have had to become trucking companies out of necessity to get their products. We become trucking companies because we've had to. From your association, is there a place, a conduit there where you can go and look as far as the availability of jobs? No, there's not. We try to. One thing we're trying to do, and that we've just started, we have teamed up with a nationwide safety organization called Team Safe Trucking, and it's a nationally recognized program. A lot of the insurance companies are behind it, and we're trying to get those trainings out and offer it to as many drivers as we can. The new requirements for a CDL driver will start in February of 2022, and they have developed a program for that we are offering. I've got it started at pilot program started at Copiah Lincoln Community College right now. We're fixing to try to expand that across the state to all the other schools that want it, to keep them from having to go out and develop their own federally FMFCA recognized program.
How long is that course?
It's about 32 hours. It's all online.
Oh, it's all online?
Yes, it's all online.
What do you mean? This is to get your commercial driver's license?
You will have to have passed this requirement and had this class, this training, this entry-level driver training theory. You will have to have that as a prerequisite to going and testing for your...
I would imagine long-term, the difference here also as far as long-term, these are going to be more short hauls, would they not be, as far as lumber is concerned?
Mostly, yes. Most guys like to stay 75 miles or less. Some of them do have to stretch out to 100, 125 miles, depending on
cross-country.
No, it's definitely not cross-country.
They're not charged. Are they charged just not loading it and unloading it? They just got to get it there.
That is correct.
Do you have any women doing this?
Yes, there are actually a few women drivers out there in the logging industry, and it's starting to become, more prevalent.
So, again, you mentioned the pine. The pine is not as valuable right now.
On the pulpwood, if you got logs and chip and saw on a mature stand, the demand is great from the sawmills right now. The price is as good as it's been in the past 3 or 4 years. Although lumber prices at the retail stores are going through the roof, the price that the landowner's getting paid and that what the logger's getting paid hasn't necessarily went up along with that, but the demand is there for it, and the price is holding stable as it did for the past 3 or 4 years.
When do you think this was coming down?
That's anybody's guess. I'm hearing, it could be this time next year, still have lumber prices and lumber futures over $1,000 a thousand.
Jeez. yellow woods out there looking, aren't they?
That is.
You know, I were talking off to Mike here. Mm-hmm. We never think about some of the things it causes, but Amazon's going crazy as far as packages and sending things out. What's that made out of? Cardboard, paper.
That's correct.
Now, which one of these mills does that?
Your paper mills and your linerboard mills are responsible for that making that product.
You just don't tell them how much they buy.
That's correct. And like I say, and good thing the market's strong. And what we have is just an imbalance basically across the whole sector of the forest industry. On the finished product end, there's a great demand for it and can't supply enough. The mills cannot produce it fast enough. But on the supply end, because the growers have been such good stewards of the land and the loggers with the new equipment and everything has become more efficient, there's an oversupply going into the mills. So, therefore,
but they got to catch up sooner or later, wouldn't you think?
Well, we hope so. And like I say, we've had several new mill announcements in the state, sawmill announcements in the state, across the state. So,
where would you need a new one somewhere? In what part of the state?
Oh, just pick a place.
Really?
So
really, anybody could come in with a new one and do good business.
That's right. That is correct. You know, we've got plenty of wood. I say any place. You know, the Delta wouldn't be an ideal place to put a pine sawmill.
We've already cleared that.
That's right.
Those cotton plants can't be harvested for wood.
No. So, but pretty much anywhere else geographically in the state is a good place for a mill, and because we've got plenty of wood, plenty of loggers, and professionally trained loggers that can supply those mills. So.
Well, it's a heck of a good profession, along with forestry, and it's not one of those things that the new generation is probably going to get into from scratch. It's like farming. It's whoever's there got to do it and hopefully pass it on to their kids. A lot of corporations into it.
No, not really. It's basically family-owned businesses and family-run businesses, and one of the challenges we face is being able to get our young people into the woods at an earlier age, because the minimum age that they can legally go to work in the woods is 18. So they can see the basics of it and see the business side of it, but as far as actually getting out and learning the details on how to harvest timber and methods is and we're working federally right now we've got a bill in the House up there in D.C. now. It's the Future Careers in Logging Act, which would allow us the same exemptions as farmers have to allow their 16-year-old, 17-year-old children to work in the woods with them on a mechanized job, not out in the mountains.
You guys had some problems with the personal income tax bill itself, too, as far as some taxes on equipment?
Yes. That would have been, that's the only exemption really that a logger has, the only benefit that they have, and they're challenging enough with fuel prices going up, insurance prices going up, and that would have just been a hard blow and a hard one for them to overcome.
I knew you guys were following that pretty closely.
Yes.
Dave, it's good to meet you, sir. Very much, David Livingston. Don't be a stranger. Let us know when that happens in September. We'd love to give you a shout out.
We'll definitely do it.
You got it, my man. Executive Director, Mrs.